Right, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay then. Yeah. Okay, so what I'll cover is I'm going to try and cover 3 main topics because there's a lot to do in marketing. So one of the topics, as you can see, is not sex, but super experience and how experience affects marketing, communication, and also strategy as well. So I'm going to quickly whiz through three key topics. Before I do, just a little bit about me. I've actually got a qualification from a diploma in training. I spent most of my career training, and a part of that was also a qualification from the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And I've also got a degree in software engineering. So I spent most of my career as a software engineer and then training sales guys across the world. And I was launching products. So basically, I was a product manager. So I was pricing products, selling products, marketing products, launching products, working with engineers. So I did a lot of things in my career, now bringing that to property. I also volunteered in Birmingham for non-for-profit organisations around tech sectors. So Birmingham Tech Week, Silicon Canal, and I also did mentorship one-to-one for students getting into marketing as well. So me overall is I've got technical background, marketing and sales, and that's what I come from. And what I notice a lot, especially when people talk, is they get confused with features and benefits, and they talk about one thing but not really communicating the message clearly across. In terms of property with Mark, as Mark mentioned, our property business is Well-Space Properties, and then with my wife, who's a chartered architect for 10 years, we also have another property business called Well-Space Architects within Midlands, and our goal here is to bring kind of wellness into homes through human-centric design and development. And while I'm talking about that, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and the focus is on kindness. So, please use this week to focus on mental health as well. So that's kind of a quick intro about me, but that's not why you're here. So one of my questions is do people, what is people's perception on marketing? What do you guys think marketing is? Maybe drop it in the comments, and tell me what you think, marketing is. And maybe Mark, you can probably read out some of them because I don't think I can see the screen that they're typing. Oh, now I can, yeah, I can see it.
You got it, yeah.
Advertising. Okay, what else do people think marketing is? Selling something, promoting yourself. What you say, what you do. Okay. So from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, their definition is the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. So one of the keywords there you will see is customers. Now, in order to understand your customers, one of the big things I always ask people is when they're running a business is why, and more importantly, why about yourself, but also your business. So I don't know if many people have come across the golden circle. If you have, great, but if not, I'll fill you in. So the golden circle focuses on 3 key areas: the what, how, and why. Now, a lot of people know what they do and they know how they do it, but they don't know why they do it. This is a key thing to understand when you're effectively marketing. And a classic example here is Apple. So if you look at Apple, they start from the inside. So a lot of people work from the outside in, but you should start from the inside out. So Apple say their why is everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. Now the how is, the way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. And the what is, oh, by the way, we just happen to make great computers. Do you want one? So what Apple are saying here is they don't promote and say we make computers, do you want to buy one? They say why they do it. And this is quite key in your business and you as a person, because if you don't know why you're doing your business, then it's very hard for you to communicate effectively what it is you're trying to offer and how you're doing it. Because don't forget, people buy whys. And this was actually done by Simon Sinek. So, I suggest, go and read his book, or you can watch a free YouTube video, which is 20 minutes long, which gives a really good example in this. You can see it's had 6 million views. And another thing to do with why is something that Toyota, the car manufacturer, invented many years ago, and they use this technique for root cause analysis. And what this basically is asking why 5 times as an example. So what they would say, for example, if a car broke down, they'll say, why did the car break down? I say, okay, the engine stopped. Okay, why did the engine stop? Because the pipe became loose. Why did the pipe become loose? Because it wasn't tightened. Why was it not tightened? Because the engineer didn't know what torque to tighten the pipe to. I forgot what you call the ring bracket. So ultimately, by asking yourself why several times, it drives down into the root cause. And this is also used in business as a powerful method to understand why you are doing what you're doing in business, but also to understand about yourself and your personal motivations in business and what you're doing. And that ultimately brings me on to something called a value proposition canvas. And the value proposition canvas is a method to understand product market fit. And again, there's so much content, so I can't go into everything, but I'm giving you these nuggets of information so you can go ahead and do further research. But in this case, on the right-hand side, you've got your customer, and on the left-hand side is your business. And on the right-hand side, the bit to focus on is the customer jobs. And there's something called a jobs to do. And the idea here is to understand what is the job your customer is ultimately trying to do. And while they're doing this job, that will create some gains, which are things that they wish to achieve, which they're not. But it also create some pains. So for example, if you're selling a property and the conveyancing is taking several months, that's classed as a pain. And then at the same time, on the left-hand side is your product or service. And whatever you're offering should relieve the pain and create gains. And if you've got that correct in the middle, you've got a product market fit. And this is why you need to understand, what it is your customer's trying to do. An example here is a research study with McDonald's, and they looked at McDonald's milkshakes. And long story short, the reason why people were buying McDonald's milkshakes in the morning through drive-thrus was because drivers were feeling bored while they were driving and they were feeling hungry. So they wanted a milkshake to keep them awake and keep their hands busy while they were driving. And that was the reason they were buying milkshakes. And it's similar to Starbucks. So Starbucks is not just for coffee. People go there to have meetings. People go there to meet friends. It's not just a caffeine hit. It's a social gathering environment. And that's the job that they're trying to do. And in that way, for example, Starbucks, they would make sure they've got charging points. People go there to work as an office. They make sure they've got enough space, enough tables, and that's what they're offering. So this is a good way to really understand what it is you're doing, because I come across a lot of people who just go off and try to market product and spend loads of money in sales, but really they've not really understood what it is that their customers are trying to do. And this really helps you figure that out. And the value proposition actually fits into the business model canvas. And what you do here, you put in your customers, and that's your value proposition, your product. Then you work out your relationship, how you're going to deliver that product, the key activities you need to do to deliver the product, and your cost structure. So once you start filling in the right-hand side, you can actually understand, is your product or service desirable? Is there something that they actually want? Is it feasible? Can you actually deliver that product? And is it viable? So for example, if you're doing a property development, who are you doing the development for? Is it first-time buyers? Is it office space? Is it co-working spaces? What is it that they're after? What do you need as a relationship? Is it transactional? Is it relationship? Do you need management partners to deliver that? What's it going to cost? Is it going to be revenue? So this is a very quick snapshot of your business model. And by doing this, you understand your customer, and that's what we're trying to get to. And by understanding your customer, it makes your marketing a lot more effective when you're delivering this. Now, all this resource is available for free. And you can, if you just Google Strategizer, they've got tons of information on this. And there's lots of information on YouTube as well. Another thing I don't see a lot of people talk about is the 7 Ps. So people might have heard of 4 Ps, but the 7 Ps of marketing. And what that is, it makes up the marketing mix. So that's ultimately product, what your product or service is, the price you offer. So again, with price, there's different pricing models. So supermarkets use loss leader. You go in to buy milk at a loss, but then they make profit in other products. Where you offer your product, how you promote your product, the people you need, physical evidence, and the process. So again, I just wanted to throw this in there, so something for somebody to go and Google and do a bit more research into, because again, when you're effectively communicating, you need to make sure you've got all of this in place. And one of the big things about effective marketing is understanding your customers, and a good way of doing that is doing a user persona. So, write down who your ideal customer is, what are their age, what are their hobbies, what do they do in their life? People say they look for investors. Okay, what does a typical investor look like? People say they're looking for a tenant. You know, what kind of tenants are you looking for in your market? Are they students? Are they professionals? Are they contractors? You know, if you want to find them and market to them, you need to think, you know, what are they doing? How do they behave? You know, where do they hang out? And if you don't understand this, it'd be very difficult for you to communicate. And the worst thing is somebody says, oh, everybody's my customer. That's never the case. You need to really drill down in your niche. So communication, there's quite a couple of different things to do with communication. So one thing I'll touch on is content versus context. So I just want to do a very, very quick experiment here. So what I want to do is I want everybody to pick a number from 1 to 100. Just very quickly, pick a number 1 to 100.
I assume you don't want everyone to put this in the chat.
No, don't put it in the chat. Yeah, no, just think of a number 1 to 100. Okay. Now everybody who's picked an even number, close your eyes for now. All the odd numbers, keep your eyes open. Okay. So it's just a quick experiment. So on the odd number, I'm trusting everybody here. I want all the odd number people to read the next slide, but don't say anything. Okay. So all the odd number people, keep your eyes open and read the slide. All the even numbers, close your eyes. Okay, so you've read that slide. Imagine yourself in that situation. Okay, now I want all the odd number people to close their eyes. Okay, now I want the even number people to open your eyes. So now everybody with the even number, open your eyes. Now read this slide. And picture yourself doing this and in this situation. Okay, right now in the next slide, everybody can open their eyes. Okay. Now, I want you to all write in the chat, what do you think this word is? Right, fill in the missing word, letter. What do you think that word is? Okay. Now, you can see what I've done here is that the content is the same. I asked you all the same question. The context I asked you and I changed. And I'll go back to the slide so everybody can see what I did. So for one group, I told you to imagine you just washed your hands in the bathroom. And the other group, I said, you're reading a menu and you're about to order a starter selection. But I asked you the same question. And the reason being because it depends what question you ask, when and where. And it's all about understanding who you're talking to. So you can ask somebody the same question but get different results. Or you can do the same marketing message but get different results. And if you ask a group of young children, you know, is sugar good for you? They potentially might say, yeah, they like fizzy drinks. If you ask some adults, they might say no. So it's always good to understand when you're marketing, what you're saying, who you're saying it, when you're saying it to. It's important to get that right. And one of the things, especially from a learning perspective, is there's normally 4 types of ways of people learn. And especially that's what marketing is. When you market something, people are understanding what you're trying to say. It's a communication method. And there's 4 types of communicating. There's visual, which is what you see, videos, animations. There's auditory, what you hear, so podcasts, listening, audiobooks, radio stations. There's written, so magazines, articles, PR, websites. And there's kinesthetic, which is actually you learn by doing. So a lot of people actually learn while actually they're doing something. If you're doing an exam, they learn by doing practice questions. You know, if someone's teaching you how to lay bricks, they can actually either watch a YouTube video, they can listen to a podcast, they can read an instruction, or they can learn to lay bricks by actually practicing and doing. And what you find is every person is a mixture of some of these, but one is normally more stronger than another. So personally, myself, I'm more of a visual kinesthetic learner. So I learn by doing and watching videos. I struggle with written information. So again, when you're marketing, you might want to look at different avenues of marketing, different channels of marketing, because you want to target different people. Not everybody's the same. And likewise, for example, you know, in business, if you're putting a proposal together and you're putting a proposal in front of somebody who's very numbers driven, you want to talk about finance first, and maybe you might want to put down something on paper. Because if you're talking to somebody who's head of marketing and then more a visual person, you might want to do a video presentation or a PowerPoint presentation, maybe not something in a written document. So it's about positioning yourself and marketing your messaging services in the right channel. And as I said, it's about getting the balance right, because there's no one size fits all. So another thing, just to very quickly to touch on, there are normally several touch points, and last time I checked a while ago, it was about 6 or 7. Before somebody actually buys a product, there's normally 6 or 7 touch points before they actually purchase the product. So again, and normally it's a mixture of, you know, physical connections. It could be seeing an ad, it could be seeing your logo, sponsorship, social media posts, an e-newsletter, and maybe even a phone call or even blog post. Or maybe the most powerful of all is word of mouth. So again, depending on what your services are, as a small business, as a big business, you know, you'd use a mixture of these, but don't expect somebody to buy your product straight away. It takes multiple touch points. And more with the internet these days, you find people are doing online research before they buy. Volvo did a case study where several years ago, people would visit the showroom 6 or 7 times before they bought a car. But now it's 2 or 3 because they do a lot of research online. So again, it's making sure your messaging is very, very clear in what you're doing. One thing I really want to touch on very, very quickly is because a lot of people talk about brand and they get confused with logos. Is a brand is about identity. A brand was actually invented in America when they were branding cattle to brand whose cattle they owned. But nowadays, brand is more about meanings, feelings, values, missions, ethics. It's more about how you feel or how your customers feel when they see your brand. And again, colors represent how people feel, and you'll notice that everything is all to do with emotions and feelings. When you're communicating what you do and who you do and keeping that really effective. So again, if you're communicating your messaging, make sure you think about your type font, your color schemes, everything you're doing, because it all has a meaning behind it. So last couple of things on the communication side. There are normally 3 key ways of communicating. There's words, oral, and visual. And they all got the different effectiveness. So again, in the chat, a quick question is, you know, how effective do you think words are on a percentage base compared to the other 2? And what percentage do you think it is? Just drop it in the chat very quickly. Okay. Yeah, no, Michael says not as effective, 25% 90. Okay, so words is about 7% effective. So words are the type of words you use, the verbs. When you write an email, when you write something down on a piece of paper as a promotional material. Now take a guess for oral. What do you guys think how effective oral is in a percentage? 30, 40, 15 from Jin, 80, 20. Okay, so oral is about 38%, some close ones there. So that is actually the quality of your voice, the grammar, the tone, the speed, the rhythm. Because if you're trying to explain something on a telephone, you know, you can say to somebody, you know, oh, how do you feel about that? And be really grumpy. Or you can say, how do you feel? So there's different ways of putting tone across in a voice, which is very difficult to put across in an email. And again, that's same as a written text. If you're doing an ad, a social media ad, or a podcast ad, you know, you can communicate different messaging. And obviously visual is 55%, is the most powerful. And normally if you're meeting face to face, it's dress code, body language, handshake, but even online, that's where videos are quite powerful these days in communicating. I was reading a book the other day, and I think there's about 11 million receptors in your brain, and about 10 million of them are dedicated to your visual communication, you know. So visually, you process a lot more information. When you make up in the morning and you look around your house, you see a lot, you do a lot. So visual has a big part and process to play on that. That's why visual ads are quite powerful. And again, it's quite bad, but normally a lot of people judge people before you see them. So if you see somebody walking up to you in a meeting, you automatically have a perception of them when you see them. So the last bit, which is experience. I only did this to grab your attention, to be honest. So it's about super experience, not just normal experience. So your brain is normally split into 2 key areas, your emotional side and your logical side. And what happens is your emotional side is the side that actually makes the decision. And then it's your logical side, which is trying to convince yourself why you've made that decision. So a lot of the times you say to yourself, I want this. I feel like this is going to be great. And because it makes you feel happy, it makes you feel good. And then the logical side is then trying to convince you, okay, if I didn't go to the pub for 4 days a week and I save my money, then I can afford to buy that handbag. Because it's your emotional side that's making you want to buy it. And this is why a lot of marketing is focused on emotions. If you look at Coca-Cola, you know, their marketing campaign is all about taste the feeling. It's about the feeling and how you feel, your experiences. BMW, they talk about drive of your life and, you know, the fun and the pleasure you can have. And Nike, you know, they do the same. You know, find your greatness. It's always about experience. And this is what marketing is always about. When you go all the way back to what I said before about your why and understanding your customers, it's understanding about the emotional side on how you're going to help them, how you're going to make them feel, and what they're going to do with it. And again, when you do your communication, it's not just, you know, we offer this and we offer that. It's all about understanding on how you're going to change them and the benefits they're going to get from their feelings. And I guess the other part of experience is actually the customer experience itself. And one thing I don't see a lot about is feedback. So, you know, listen to your customers, get feedback, analyze the data, and actually solve the problems. Solve the problems. That's what marketing is all about. Marketing isn't just brochures and sales. It's about understanding a challenge and solving the challenge. And Henry Ford said, you know, rightly, if he asked his customers, what do you want? They would have said a faster horse. But he understood that their challenge was getting from A to B quicker. So he invented a car. And similar to Steve Jobs, you know, nobody had invented the tablet, but he understood that people wanted a device that made consuming information easier, simple. And that's when he developed the tablet. So it's really understanding the problems. The last thing is, typically everybody thinks about a sales funnel as a typical funnel. At the top, customers come in and you get customers at the bottom. But really it should be a continuous circle. So this is called a flywheel. This was from HubSpot. And it's all about, you know, the customers being in the middle and understanding your customers, engaging with them and delighting them. And then, you know, this continues in a round circle. Keep working with your existing customers and learning with your customers. So very quickly, because I know I can waffle on for ages, just a quick summary.
Quickly, mate, because you're eating into Irene's time here.
Yeah, I'm done. That's it. So it's about really understanding your personal business and why, your persona, who you're doing it to, right time and place, make sure you get the right words right, emotions, feelings, solving a problem, and getting feedback. And that was it. Hopefully that's lots of quick information.